So when you hear the word environment, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably trees, right? Rivers, animals? Well, what if I told you it's also about things like banking systems and social customs? Today we're going to dig into what the environment actually is, and trust me, it's a whole lot bigger and more connected than you probably think. All right, here's the plan. We'll kick things off by completely redefining the environment. Then we'll look at all the different sciences you need to even begin to understand it. After that, we'll dive into the engines that make nature tick, figure out what it's all worth, and finally, try to see where we fit into this huge, complicated picture. Okay, first up, let's just throw out that old definition. The environment isn't just some pretty place you go hiking on the weekend. According to the source material we're looking at, it's way more personal, and it's absolutely everywhere. And really, at its core, it's that simple. It's not something out there, it's right here, all around you. It's the grand total of every single thing that makes up your surroundings. And once you start thinking that way, it opens up a whole new world. Now this is where that simple idea gets really interesting. Yeah, of course, you've got the biological and physical stuff we all think about, the plants, the animals, the weather, the soil. But look closer. It also includes our social factors, our laws, our governments, our customs, and even economic factors, like our banking systems. All of that is part of the everything which surrounds us. It's all connected. So if the environment is this giant mix of biology, economics, and even sociology, how in the world do you even begin to study it? Well, it's definitely not a job for just one person or one field. You need a whole team of experts from all different areas. And here's the team photo. As the source material shows, studying the environment is a truly group effort. It's like this massive web where a biologist might need to talk to an economist, who might need to talk to a computer scientist, who might even need to talk to a philosopher, all to solve these incredibly complex puzzles that affect every one of us. Let's just zoom in on a couple of these. You've got biology, and more specifically, ecology. This is the science that's all about mapping out those super intricate relationships between all the living things. Figuring out how they all depend on each other to make the whole system work.
And then you have a field like ecological economics, which asks a really tough question. How much is clean air actually worth? What's the price tag on a glass of clean water? By trying to put a number on all the things nature gives us for free, it helps us make way smarter decisions about how we manage everything.
Okay, let's keep building on this. We know the environment is this big, interconnected system. So now let's get into its functional heart, the actual engines that power life itself. We're talking about ecosystems. So what's an ecosystem? Well, think of it like a self-contained, self-sustaining community. It's this dynamic place where all the living parts, the biotic stuff like plants and animals, are constantly interacting with the non-living parts, the abiotic stuff like water, soil, and sunlight. Together, they create one working unit. In this image shows that engine in action perfectly. You've got energy from the sun coming in, which gets captured by the producers, the plants. Then that energy moves up the food chain to the consumers, the animals. And when anything dies, the decomposers jump in, break it all down, and send those vital nutrients right back into the soil so the whole cycle can start over. It's a beautiful, efficient, continuous loop. So what makes one of these engines turn into a rainforest and another one a desert? Well, the basic design of the engine is really shaped by the non-living, or abiotic, conditions in that particular spot. And the source material boils it down to 4 major players: temperature, water, light, and soil. It's the unique recipe, the specific combination of these 4 things that really sets the rules for what kind of life can survive and thrive in any given place. And check out this chart. It's amazing. It shows how the interplay of just 2 of those factors, temperature and rainfall, is literally all it takes to create this incredible diversity of habitats we see across the globe. A little hotter here, a little more rain there, and boom, you have a completely different world. Okay, so now that we get how these natural engines work, we can really start to appreciate the unbelievable value they provide us. We're talking about services we get every single day that we don't pay a single cent for. You can almost think of them as nature's public utilities. They regulate our climate, they purify our water, they create the soil we need to grow food, they pollinate our crops. These are the fundamental background services that our economies and our very survival depend on. Which, of course, brings us to a pretty mind-blowing question. The same one those ecological economists are trying to figure out. If we actually had to pay for all of this stuff, what would the bill even look like? Well, the answer is just staggering.
The estimated value of these free services is equal to, or maybe even more than, the total gross national product of every single country on Earth combined. Basically, nature's services are worth more than the entire global economy. Just let that sink in for a second.
So all of this, it leads us to one final and maybe the most critical question of all. Given how massive and valuable this whole system is, what's our actual relationship to it? Where do we and all of our economic activity really fit into the grand scheme of things?
The source material shows us there are two completely different ways to look at this. The old classical view basically says the environment is just a subsection of our economy, a box of resources we can pull from. But the newer ecological view completely flips that on its head. It recognizes that the human economy is actually a much smaller system that exists entirely inside the much larger environmental system.
And that one change in perspective is what leads us directly to the idea of sustainable development. Because if our economy is just a small part of the environment and totally dependent on it, then the only path forward that makes any sense is to figure out how to get what we need today, without totally wrecking the life support systems that our kids and grandkids are going to need.
And that's really the final thought I want to leave you with. This idea that we live inside the environment isn't just some abstract concept. It has very real consequences for how we live. So if you accept that, what's one thing in your own life that might change, knowing that everything we do happens inside this one precious, life-sustaining system?